Hey guys, whether you watch the last 2 or 3 videos I put out in this series, then this is going to be the third or fourth video in this series. And I hope you've been following along and understanding it so far, because this is going to get crazy cool. So let's think about the natural consequence. So we like the idea of being able to run the split test. We know that's going to give us more insight as to what combination of information that we show and what combination we pull back from showing, depending on topics, we think will cause the better reaction, right? And that's what you want to do. You want each of your web pages to really get good at causing people to either spend more time on the page or click something to go somewhere else or watch a video or get somewhere, check out the parts of the newsletter, God knows what. Yeah, visit your image gallery. It could be anything. Now, but that leads to the next concept. What happens if that means you're going to put like 100 pages on your site or 500 pages on your site? And then what if you're going to have a bunch of websites like that and you're going to have multiple pages on multiple sites? Now, you might think, well, it's still kind of efficient. I could have somebody coming through the pages. And I suppose that, and frankly, I never spent too much time on this idea. I don't know if it's even a good idea. You could go from one page to the next, just open up all your different pages in different tabs, scroll down, right? And then just make sure you go through and methodically change combinations according to your combinations, right? First, you decide to pull off any sections that you just are not using, right? You're not using that, so it just shouldn't be there, right? You're not using that, so it just shouldn't be there, right? And so you would tell whoever's doing the work, rearrange what's left, and then also create versions where you cut back on some of the sections, right? Try to make it a little more tailored. Okay, fine. So somebody could go through your site, page by page, and at least they don't have coding issues, right? No one is saying get into the coding of the second page only and pull the coding out for this section from down below and paste it in up here. And then go to the next page and pull the coding out from this other section and paste it up here, and then paste the other one down here, and paste the other one down here, and paste the other one, and then comment out a couple of sections. I mean, that'd be painful, wouldn't it? So it's kind of nice that we have the ability, to just touch point like this and to rearrange things, to get stuff in different places according to what we think, that was weird, is the right idea, right? Okay, so you understand that such a thing could be done, and in the world of split testing, you could come out, even if you just did 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 pages where you really focus on each one and deliberate over whether it looks like a right combination to you or not, whether it seems like the right way to present the information or not. And then you can use those 5, 10, 15, 20 pages as landing pages in your ads, so that you can have the different keywords point at the right page. And you've really done a pretty good job of arranging, and you're going to just watch statistics. That takes you back over here to the statistics to see how your different combination pages are causing people to spend more or less time on each of those pages, because we're going to aggregate the stats. We're going to aggregate who lands on what page, how far down they scroll, what they click on, what other page they go to, how far down they scroll, what they click on along the way, what other page they go to, and anything that is a click is called an engagement. Clicks go, hey, that's a human. No question, that's a human, kind of thing, right? And if they're scrolling and clicking, it's definitely a human. We have every reason to believe that, generally speaking, especially if they're in the area. All that kind of thing adds up, right? And because click fraud doesn't need to do that. Click fraud just nudges your page when they land on it. And if somebody clicks on the add to your page, he just needs to go like that and leave. He might just do some weird thing, but it doesn't make sense, and off he goes. No engagement, right? Or he clicks something and then goes, right? So we scrolled down 3%, clicked something and vanished, So you can see clearly, the overall actions. We track both exact individuals, and where they are in the world, what their engagement scores are, what they looked at, what they didn't, how far down they scrolled, and what they clicked, right? And we also track aggregate stats. Okay? And we allow you to determine how often your website should do the math. Some websites should do it every 100 people, some every 50 people, some every 25 people, some every 10, some every 5. Why don't you choose that, right? Whatever you think. If you choose too many people, then I'll get into that, as a matter of fact. Let me get into that now, because I got to come back. All right, so there's more. All right, so far you're seeing how you can arrange the stuff and the fact that we can track the results and you can see what's working and make adjustments. Whichever pages are doing the worst job, try something else. Whichever pages are doing pretty well and other pages are doing pretty well, compare them. See if there's something you can understand and then make that work on the remaining pages, for example, right? To get them to come up in the world, right? So that's huge because it's allowing you to force your ads up for less. Google is happy to charge you less so you stick around if you are less risky to Google, because when people click your link, they spend more time on your page or they click more things on your page than the other guys. You know, whoever Google will let you rise above, you're doing better than those other guys. You're going to get charged less per click than these guys, even though you were down here. You know, you're going to pay the same amount, but you'll be up here now, right? If you can do better than him, Google will allow you to keep going up for a lesser cost if you're less risky to Google for that click, right? Meaning you're a better match for the keyword because people spend more time on your page and or click more stuff on your page. Does that make sense? Matter of fact, I want to point something out that I think is extremely serious, but I forget whether it's where I'm going to have to throw it away or I'm going to keep it. I might be able to keep it. That might be the point I'm making. Yes. I just want to make this clear. What do you call this that you're staring at? Is it a video? No, it's a looping video, right? It's a looping reel. Okay? So this is just going to loop and loop and loop. It's a handful of seconds. Why do they put it here? To give you something, to give you a reason to pause. Even before you start reading, you pause and kind of look because you're taking it in, you know. This gives you a sense of what you're going to be buying, so it's interesting. You kind of want to see it, right? It's giving you a reason to stick around on the page longer than your competitor who may not have a looping video, right? And so you might already be scrolling down. That's good, but this holds your attention for some extra seconds and get your curiosity up. Now you kind of want to come down, right? So there you go. Can we do that on our websites? Yeah. We have built that ability long ago into our websites. Take a look. The banner settings. Banner. Are we going to enable it or not? You could turn it off. It's got a banner image, which if you also put in a video, it will override. I know it says video image. It means video. It will override the banner image. The banner image will be sitting behind it, but the video will play on top. You'll see the video, not the image, except on a mobile phone. Nobody plays these big looping videos on a mobile phone because it takes too long to load them up. It would slow down the page speed so much that it would kill your ranking on mobile. So on mobile, you won't see this. What you're going to see is an image. That's exactly what we did, okay? This is going to be what will show up on a mobile, whereas this will play on a desktop, and it can be any looping video you want. If we took theirs, we could do the same thing. We can make that happen on our web pages, okay? Isn't that wild? And we can do that. We can have the next banner slider be a video and or an image. You know, there's things we can do, okay? And then there's even timers you can set under typography to decide how long the video should last in seconds before the next slide goes over. So you can have a loop twice and then the next banner slide, or loop once, then the next banner slide. And the next banner slide could be set to sit for like 300 seconds so that the visitor knows, okay, the show's over, continue reading. All right. How's that for crazy? So just so you know, yeah, we have all that covered. All right, it's all available. So if you're doing ads and you're giving people the right reasons to pause, You can give them a welcome pop-up that says all the right information and gives them a phone number to call. That'll probably get them 50% convinced to call it, but they're not quite ready. They see the phone numbers on other spots on your site, so they click off the pop-up. Clicking off the pop-up is an engagement. When they hit that X so that they can move up and down the page, that's a conversion action. For you, that just means that they are a human. That will show up in the user tracking if you're using a pop-up like that. And they click it, right? It will show up as an engagement and prove that they're a human, because a bot would never notice it or care. And a click fraud guy may or may not, right? But when we're adding engagements, right, user engagements, you'll know that the guy who does 3, 4, 5 engagements is more interested in the guy who does 0, 1, or 2, right? Very simple, common sense. Having said that, doing things on your site that causes reasons to engage and time to spend more time makes you less of a risk to Google for the keywords. And that company I just showed you, I should tie this together, because if I don't, you won't know. You might be wondering how they're doing. I did find their well, let's take a look, right? Yeah, they're working their way up the ladder slightly. I mean, this may not look like much until you realize this is like close to 2,000 and this is like 2,800. So, you know, it's like a 33% hike uphill, okay? If they go down ever so slightly, sure, they're going to do whatever they're going to do on their way. But anyway, this company's generally speaking on the rise. They don't do a lot of work, but they've done enough already. Look at that. They show up for 5,333 keywords in the top 100 results altogether organically, all right? And they're getting that many SEO clicks. They also do pay for ads. That's like 6,000 a month they pay for 30 visitors. You realize that? It's like $300 clicks. Isn't that crazy? So how are they paying for $300 clicks? Well, they made a lot of money over here. So now they can afford this, right? So that's 2 income streams paying them. Because if this is working for them to the tune of they're making money on $300 clicks as well as making money on all the organics, they would not turn either one of these off because they will lose money. It's 2 different marketing channels getting them paid. They may have 5 other marketing channels that don't have anything to do with this graph, right? But I'm just showing you, they're not losing, they're not making mistakes, they're playing the game right, okay? And so, and that might be that they're $300 clicks, might be that they're outranking guys paying $350 to $400. It could be, because if people are spending more time on their pages than their competitors for the same keyword, they're less risky to Google. Okay. The next 2 things I'm going to say are going to sound bizarre, but they're actually very, very clear. And I think you can understand it now because we've gone through this a lot. Okay. Let's say there are like 12 sections on the page. Okay. Here's the thing. We can turn on the self-monitoring rules that go with the website. Okay. And what does that mean? The website has one first rule. If a person scrolls down and they don't click anything, we assume that they should keep scrolling down. If they're not clicking, they should keep going down. If they're not clicking here, they should keep going down and going down and going down until they either hit the bottom or click something. If they hit the bottom, maybe they didn't find what they were looking for, maybe they leave. Okay, but now you know how a visitor reacted to your page. A human visitor that went all the way from the top to the bottom usually will convert somewhere along the way. They'll click something somewhere along the way. Okay, they might not, but usually they will. Now, here's the point. If somebody goes halfway down the page and they hit a section like this one, I've talked about this a couple of times. Let's say this is the Our Clients section where you're boasting and bragging about your biggest clients. And so you put in the biggest possible names. Do you know what a lot of people do when they get here and they see that? They think, ooh, if you're working with companies that big, $100 million a year companies or better, You're not going to be interested in little old me, and off they go. What would that mean from a tracking point of view? It means that a whole lot of people who landed on the page didn't click anything until they got down to about here, and then they left. If they didn't leave the page already by hitting a read more link to another page, or a menu link to another page, or a get a quote link or something, an about us link, if they didn't leave the page, if they're still on this page and they started here and they started scrolling down and they got about this far and off they went, what do you think it means? This is offending the majority of the people. So what would you do? If we assume you knew what you were doing when you put it there, you're adamantly going to keep it there. You're over my dead body. Am I taking that out? But guess what? Maybe it just is showing up too soon. Another case like that is when you offer people, your price right up at the top of the page. So they see your price before they find out what it includes. So they get sticker shock. They're like, ooh, that's too expensive for that. And off they go before they had a chance to see what's given to them, what's involved, right? So what would you do in that case? You would move the price down, right? You would let them absorb more of the page before they hit the part that you're adamantly over your dead body. You're going to keep it there on the page, but maybe they should read more of the page before they see it, right? What's another case like that? The newsletter. Some people put the newsletter up here. It's you visited the website for the first time. Hey, join our newsletter for our tips and tricks and stuff. And you're like, no, I don't even know who you are yet. And you click it off. Okay, that's an engagement. That's healthy. You clicked it. Google registers that. Your competitor gets that point for doing it. If you're not doing it, they did it. They got the point. You didn't. You should be doing things to get points too. But having said that, say you clicked it off they click it off on your website and they keep going down, right? Well, now they forgot it's there. Maybe they get to the bottom and they're like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And they go off and think about it, but they totally forget to sign up for your newsletter. So then what do you think should happen with your newsletter? If it's getting bypassed, but people are staying on the page, whoever's staying on the page, don't come back to it, right? They just keep going and ignore it. They don't sign up or anything. What do you think should happen to your newsletter? What would you do with it? You'd move it down, right? Let them have something to do when they get to the bottom of the page. There should be a closing call to action of some kind. You don't just want to end by saying, wasn't this a cool page? You want to say, now do this, right? Hey, if you're ready, do that. Maybe you'll say, if you're ready, do either that or that, right? Even in YouTube videos. Subscribe to our channel or click the end screen for the next video we have for you, right? Something like that. I don't do nearly enough of that, but there you go. So what's the point I want to make? That there are very logical decisions that can be made already based on things that stop people. I've had people say, shouldn't I just put my newsletter every so often on the page? I keep reminding them to join my newsletter. You know what happens? You psychologically, you're like, I'm not ready for it. And then you see it again. You're like, no, not ready for it. And then you see it again. You're like, I know what that is. Then I know what that is. You just subconsciously skip it. Next thing you know, you got to the bottom of the page. You didn't sign up. And you even forgot it was on the page because you've mentally blanked it out every time. So don't do that either. Just get the stupid newsletter in the right place on that page. I got another question for you. What about a video? Okay. What if you've got a video on the page and you're like, not enough people are watching the video, and we're already separating the bots from the real humans. We're only tracking the real humans and not enough people are watching the video. Maybe only 5%. You set a goal for 15% on the page of video watchers. Can you believe that? We can set goals. How about 3% should check out the pricing, 1% should join the newsletter, 15% should watch the video, and these are goals that you gave the page. And the page will work to try to accomplish the goals while simultaneously paying attention to regular rules for increasing the time people spend on the page and or the number of things that they click. So if people land on the page and they click on things, nothing to fix. Some people click on that, some people click on that, some people click on the other thing. But if they go scrolling down, let's say they got this far down and went, ooh, and they leave the page. We already talked about that. But what if your video was below there? What if your video was down like here? Then no one ever saw it. So the first obvious thing is they didn't watch your video for a reason. And it could be that they didn't see your video on the page. They left the page before they saw your video because of a mistake you're making of showing your biggest clients too soon or showing your price too soon or something like that, right? Oh, so what do you think should happen to the video? Right? Don't you think if people are leaving at this part of the page, yeah, we're trying to get them to go even further down, but also the video, shouldn't the video come up above here somewhere? Yeah, I mean, that makes logical sense, right? At least get the video up. If you want it low on the page, great, but at least have it above where people leave, because if they don't see it at all, you have no chance of showing it. If they at least see it, they might watch it, right? Some of them anyway, maybe 15%, maybe more. Okay, so a couple of things we know must make sense. When you go down the page, if you hit an offending section, what do you think we should do with the section? Well, I would want to take it out, but assuming that you were smart about it and you're over my dead body, do you want to take it out? Then what should we do with it? Move it down. I'd swap it for the next section down. See if people scroll further down now. And then if they're still leaving on that section, I'd swap it for the next section down. Swap them. And then if they're coming and they're still leaving, I'd swap it for the next section down. How often would I do this check? Maybe I set it for every 25 people. Okay? That way I can get good averages. That way I can tell if 12% of the people are offended by the section or 89% of the people are offended by the section. Right? Where it is. But don't you think continuing to move it down is smart? Because by the time it gets down here, you've said so much other stuff on the page that people aren't going to be offended by it anymore. It's not going to scare them off. They'll be like, yeah, okay, it's great that you do clients like that, but I already know that you do clients like me too, because I read so much stuff up here, I realize it already. So I'm not going to leave now when I see that section. Do you get it? Does that make sense? What if that happens on its own? What if the logic is built into the website that on a page-by-page basis, independent of every other page, it will notice where people leave the page and swap the section down. And then it will notice if people leave the page on that section down there now, and it swaps it down again. And it swaps it down again. It keeps moving it down every however many people you set. What if the web page already knew to do that? And at the same time, you set a goal of 50% watch the video, and the web page knows that people didn't get to the video. They got down here and they left, but your video's down here. So what if the system knows to move the video up? So it's moving this down, moving your video up. That's two changes it's logically making, like split testing, but it's doing it because it has the data to know it should. Does that make sense? Now, what's the next step for the videos? What if people see the video, but too many keep going past it? Then maybe that particular video doesn't work very well on that particular page. So what if you could have a repository where you keep other video links that are good candidates for that page? Like maybe you've got 10 videos and you're just going to offer them on the repository for every page, for the videos for every page. They're alternative videos, alternates. And you put them in whatever preferred order. But if the website sees that now people are skipping the video, too many. Yeah, I mean, if 15% or better watch the video, the website won't do a thing. It does not know if the next video in your list is going to get a better result or a worse result. So as long as it's getting the result you asked for, it will stay right there until that happens to change one day, and then it'll try the next video down. But it will swap the video out on the page by itself automatically. You didn't do anything. I got another question. Do you think pages are naturally different? Some have more wording, some have more imagery, some have less wording, some have more alternate sections to click through to. And therefore, do you think the video is best situated in the exact same spot on every single page? No, right? Don't you think the video should be higher on some pages, lower on others, even lower on others? What if every page maximized where that video should be for the best result? Independent of every other page. The left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. But the left hand is maximizing how it carries that weight, and the right hand's maximizing how it carries its weight. Whoa. Talk about every page optimizing itself. And if you're using them all like landing pages, like for your affiliates, they're all optimizing themselves independently to best benefit the recipient, whoever you assign to each page in that case. Isn't that crazy? And maybe you only assign 50% of your pages to others and you're keeping the other 50% for yourself anyway. Whatever. And I'm just saying it that way as though they were like, 100 landing pages that you made on a single site that you're going to run through ads on purpose. Okay? Why through ads? Because what if you're getting lots of people to your pages really, really fast? Then your pages can go through their evolutions quickly. If you got 100 people to a page in a day, that's 4 sets of 25. If you set it for 25 or even 20 for how often it should check, that would be 5 generations of evolution. That's interesting too, because the website will never make the same mistake twice. It tracks. This used to be section 6. I'm going to swap it for section 7. Then I'm going to go through the next 20 or 25 people, and if I need to swap it again, I will not accidentally swap it back up to section 6. I know it was there already. I will swap it down to the next section. And now that I know it was in both those sections, so if I have to swap it down again after the next check, I will swap it down again. I will not repeat orders that used to exist because I track the history. Isn't that neat? So what about the alternative videos? Do you think the same video is the best video for every single page for conversions? No. Make a different video that works for each different page if it's a different point or a different anything. Pill, right? Say you're doing weight loss pills. You can sell them to men. You can sell them to women. You can sell them to guys who are runners, who want a thermogenic. You can sell them to guys who are weightlifters. You can sell them to guys who are just lethargic and sit around the table all day programming. That's totally different messages, isn't it? You can't use the same video for all three unless it's a generic video that doesn't really apply to any one of them. You're never going to sell the lethargic guy the weight loss pill for the bodybuilder. It's the wrong message, right? You're never going to sell the runner or the weightlifter the weight loss pill for the runner. It's the wrong message, right? And so shouldn't you have 3 videos? And shouldn't you put them in the right order, but have a backup generic video just in case your one video wasn't hitting as well as you thought? So what if you can have a stack of videos in a repository and just let the pages figure out the best video for each page? Isn't that interesting, right? So what if the pages make their own logical decisions? What else works? I'll give you another example. You can have a newsletter. Oh man, I gotta flip one on. Do I have one? Yeah, I got it flipped on too. Where have I got that newsletter? I want to make the point. Or it's not on this page, maybe. Again, the coolest thing is you can do all the pages independently, right? What the heck page am I on? I want to find it. Okay, I'm gonna do like so. Boom. There we go. Okay, so where the heck is it? It's got to be near the bottom, right? Yeah, check this out. This is awesome. That's a headline. That's a subheadline. and that is the text of the button. Now, we assume your newsletter is set up the way you want. You want the email, the name, enter your contact with country code, whatever it is, like the phone, right? Now, that's fine. You can set these fields up. You can decide if you want them all or just the obvious, like name and email, or do you want name, email, and phone, that kind of thing, or do you want name and phone, right? Once that's figured out, what if not enough people are signing up? Maybe this is boring. Maybe that is too boring or not hitting the point or not encouraging enough. Maybe the whole thing about save or submit or enter is not interesting. What if you could put in repository options where those three things are one group, right? So then your next group, instead of saying subscribe newsletter now, what's it going to say? Sign up to get 10% off your next order. Or it's going to say like, join for 10% off. Subscribe now to get 10% off your next order. Or to get the coupon code for 10% off your next order. Guess what the button will say? Get the coupon code. Oh, so you can have different combinations of the writing for your call to action, your poll, your hook, right? So that you can test different ways to really attract the sign up. Don't you think that if you go through combinations of changing videos, changing the order of items on the page based on tracking the humans. You're changing the video based on tracking the humans. You're swapping the video, testing the next video down, the next video down, the next video down, until you get one that's hitting the right goal, or just keep cycling until you come and trade out videos or lower the percentage, or if it's hitting a percentage real quick, you might be like, dang, I wonder about the other videos. You might raise the percentage to force it to continue through the cycle. Stuff like that. You can do that. Because maybe this will actually capture 30% of the human traffic. But you have to get through these to get to it. It's up to you, right? Or these are kind of duds. That one worked. But now that you know that, throw those out and make some new videos and add them into your repository and then raise the percentage up. Chances are when you found what did not work and what did work, right? Now you can figure out what else to make that's more like this, but better, right? So probably you can get the percentage up a little, which is going to affect your income. Getting people to subscribe to your newsletter, the more that affects your income. If you go from 2% or 1% to 2%, you could double your ROI on the back end of your list, right? All other factors being equal. What about the pricing? We can change pricing. We can lower it. We can raise it after every 20, 25 years. It's possible to offer bundles. I mean, we actually can go a lot further with that kind of thing. There's so much room we have right now because we capture the data, right? Here's the coolest thing about it all. Your web pages are alive. They're liquid. They're fluid. They can swap the sections, change the wording, flip out the videos, change the pricing if you have pricing. And they can do all of this by following simple logical rules that require. There's no GPT involved in that. There's no AI involved in that, but it may as well be AI. To any onlooker, it is AI. And yes, it's hard to make that stuff work, right? The tracking is some effort, but it's full out tracking on a page by page basis where each and every page of your website has the goal of fully optimizing for you according to the goals you set on the page. 15% should watch the video. 3% should check out the pricing. Because after that, like, you can't say a certain percent should buy. You're always trying to, but as long as they're checking out the pricing, right? Then if they do or don't buy, I mean, that's a natural, obvious thing anyway. And then you can decide, what should happen if people aren't doing enough. Like, changing the pricing is one idea. Changing what people see, but then finally, the newsletter can change out the wording for the headline, the subheadline, and the button, right? And you get these things as alternatives in the back end. Does that stuff sound just crazy? I'm going to show it to you. in the next video because this one's gone on for a long time. Last point I want to make while I'm on the screen. Where would it be? Control F. Hold on. Okay. Download. Tracking data. See this? Download tracking data. Enter your domains. Say you had 10 websites from us, all working together, all self-optimizing and improving themselves, and they're all for the same industry and they're all offering the same stuff. We can download all the data into one place, one file, and compare across the pages of the sites, like page to like page. For instance, locksmiths, right? We can compare the residential pages on domain A to the residential pages on domain B. Commercial pages on domain A to commercial pages on domain B. To C to E, D to E, but all the commercial pages, residential pages, emergency pages, automotive. So we can compare like to like, okay? And like template to like template, okay? And that way, what if you've got like an average 2% conversion across all of it, but somewhere in there, one of those pages managed to pull off a 3% conversion, got a better order, or a 4% or a 5%. Here's what's going to happen. The winning combinations are going to get to roll across the other like pages of the other websites and get pushed back out. We can push the changes back up. So if it was all 2s but 1 5, it could now all be 5s for that topic across all the sites. Maybe another site gets all 4s. Maybe another site gets all 6s. What do I know? But that's the point, is that we can do like to like. Whatever the best combination was that got figured out in one spot, we can copy that arrangement to the other sites. Turn off the sections that are offending. When they get to the bottom of the page and they still did no good, turn them off. And that would be the rule with the guy who puts his foot down. Our logic says, if it gets all the way to the bottom and still is useless, it's doing nothing, turn it off, right? So that's smart, okay? And all your pages get to, if one of them gets optimized, then the optimizations can carry across to the others. Now let me tell you what split testing can be like in a way. Let's say you got this wild idea for a test of your own. Do you have to test on all 10 websites? No, pick one. Say you run your test. Either it works or it doesn't somehow, right? It does something good or it just doesn't, okay? Maybe it does something worse. The next time we download the data and compare the stats and push the winning stuff back up, if your test did nothing, it will not be part of the push. What will be part of the push? Whatever is the best stuff. If your test did something great, it gets cascaded and pushed back through all the other websites. So here's how one guy can show that he's taking care of his downline or his partners or his affiliates or his co-whoever's, right? Co-partners, whatever. I think you get the idea. Subsidiaries, say, by just always managing that. Do you know what else happens when all of this is going live like that all the time? Google is seeing changes to the pages. Smart changes. You know what heat maps are? When Google assesses your page, it understands what everything is, and it knows where people should be focusing their time and interest. So it's got this idea of how many people should be around here because they're watching your video. How many people should be around here because they're signing up for your newsletter. How many people should be clicking on that button or that or whatever. But they compare that heat map to what's really happening, okay? So what if people start off all over the place or barely move? The heat map's right up in here. But then when Google checks back later, the heat map's getting broader and focusing in more on certain things. Google checks back later and the heat map's spreading more efficiently and concentrating in the best spots. Your heat maps are coming into alignment with Google's expectations of where people should be spending their time on your pages. Do you get it? And as your pages change, Google's obviously updating its heat maps because it instantly knows what it thinks should be happening on your page when it sees your page, right? It does the analysis real fast. That's in the back end for Google, okay? But do you get what I'm saying? Is that You can bring your pages in a natural alignment with what Google is looking for. How's that for cool? Okay, this is available to you, and I've never heard of it anywhere else, and it's part and parcel of what we've got. And not just that, we remote control all our websites through this stuff. Enable, disable sections. You know what that looks like? I'll just give you a view. I mean, it's so crazy. Maybe it was this one. Let me see. No, that's something else. This. Check this out. You'll see. For the different template types, this is just a list of a chunk of them. Okay. All right. For the different templates that we have, they're built with different sections so that Google doesn't see them as the same. They're not. They're not cookie cutter at all. Okay. And they even have a different total number of sections depending on the template. Okay. These are the total sections that can be turned on or off on each of those templates is different. This one has 10 sections. That means there are 9 commas here. Right? This one has fewer, that one has more, that kind of thing. But do you see how they're in a certain comma organized set? What do you think we can do? We can put them in a different order, right? Check it out. On this domain, I can decide the order of events. And for all of those, I can also decide which are on and which are turned off. 1 is on, 2 is off. So which section should be on and which section should be off? So I can come up with my cascading arrangement of the sections, and I can come up with my cascading arrangement of what's going to be on and off. I can literally drag that down and just superimpose a bunch of starting points across however many websites, and then what? I can upload all that stuff and run it, download tracking data, push it back up, but let the pages rearrange themselves and let them take over from there, right? Let them figure out how to maximize time on site and or number of things clicked. Does that make sense? I know I've been talking forever, but that's because this is kind of visual and you've probably never seen it in action like this, right? We haven't seen anyone else with tools that can do this, right? And so the reason that we have it is because we build it ourselves with no mentors. So the reason it's taking me so long to explain it is because I'm explaining something to you I've never seen anyone do. So I don't think you have a visual of it in your head, really. I'm just guessing. All right. So anyway, that's crazy, isn't it? All right. So I'm going to break this off. I am going to do another one so I can give you kind of a visual. And it's going to be, like our idea of of Google Tag Manager and why we don't need it and how that stuff kind of looks from a visitor tracking point of view. That way you can sort of see how these things are actually managed and controlled in a way that when you're running projects with us, you understand what to ask us to do. Because it'll occur to you, yeah, you should be able to do that, right? I've seen it in the videos, right? Can't you do that, right? Okay. All right. Talk to you soon.